Hi. It's not nearly that formal. Yeah, okay, relax. Hi, there we go. All right, everybody's happy. Welcome to Dearborn. We haven't been here since, was it NANOG 13?
Yes. Whoa.
And the hotel was a lot different then, but, you know, it is. It's Muse, you're looking at me funny. What's up? Yeah. It looks different, except from the outside, it's still, you still see where the rotating restaurant used to be. Is it still there? Tuesday, excellent, wonderful. So thanks everybody for coming to Dearborn, and thanks for coming to the community meeting. I know some of the sessions are still rolling on, and thanks for caring to actually show up. It is always a pleasure to stand up here and have to present some stuff, though we're going to, as always, this is an engaged, and trying to be a little more engaged with everybody here, so the mics are open and live, and you should stand up and say that somebody's full of crap if they're full of crap, just like in a regular NANOG meeting. But we are trying to not be just talking heads giving statistics, because in case you forgot, this is an election meeting. And so later on in this session, we're going to have the candidates for the SC actually stand up and have a couple of minutes to say why you should bother to vote for them. Typical agenda. I am Joe Provo. If you don't know me, hi. You'll know me by the end of the meeting. I'll present the steering committee report, then we'll have Dave giving the program committee, Chris, MLC, Patrick will do the marketing, merit report will be from Betty, and then that'll segue into the election process, and Steve will be handling some of the charter changes. And we will close, as I said, with the SC candidate statements. Again, reminder, the mics are live. This is your meeting. Go up and cause a ruckus if a ruckus is deserved. So I'm just going to kind of zip through some of these things just because, like I said, we need to leave time for the candidates to talk. Steering committee, people standing with the blue badges. If you're not up here, stand. Steering committee people, blue badges. There's Jared, there's RS, Betty, Steve, Chris, Patrick, Dave. Chris Morrow is somewhere in the building. He's probably at the NSPSEC session right now. And me, hi. Highlights of work since NANOG 46. The elusive network experiment policy finally got agreement. The changes suggested from the community and worked out with Merit, and it should be posted on the site. It is? Yeah? All right, good. So the key things being that any network experiment participation is voluntary by NANOG attendees. It's not going to be foisted on anybody. Data will be shared. And what was the other key thing? I think those are the two important ones. There were like, oh yeah, pre-planning and actually not showing up day of meeting and saying, hey, I want to do an experiment. Yeah, and we don't want more work on Merit. The full list of items, it's very short, is up on the site, and it includes like what you need to do to submit. So if you really wanted to get some data from all your colleagues in terms of network behavior and have something interesting to do that would be reasonable for the NANOG network to be an experimental testbed, then propose it before, I believe it's 3 months before the meeting. The annual Pastel Scholarship was awarded, and I don't know if he's in the room. I have not seen him because we didn't sync up. And while there is still funding for a little bit, we, as a community, if we think we and the recipients have been gaining value, we need to consider how we should be putting more funding into the pot. Expect to hear more about that from the SC down the line. There is a partnership called the Operator Tomorrow Partnership that has been proposed and ratified by the SC, and we're working on the funding elements. And that is really as an outreach for educational institutions to get more of the younger next generation coming up actually involved in the NANOG community. Of course, preparation for this meeting and the work on future meetings. Austin, San Francisco, and Atlanta are finalized and published, and the next 3 are in the pipeline. Hopefully those 3 are all on your calendars. And of course, elections, I already mentioned. Candidates will have some minutes to talk. The SC and the charter ballot voting is open now, and so are the PC and MLC nominations. So get those nominations in if you know people who actually could help contribute to either the program or managing the mailing list. The obligatory slide of mailing list addresses, most important for this meeting, right at the top there, nominations at. I'm not going to read off the rest because I think you all can read. Dave.
I hope I don't have any slides. Oh, okay, I do. Sorry. Well, I thought about this on the plane today because I was going to make these slides and I decided not to, mostly because I wanted to say a few things. One is, I mean, I could give you guys all the statistics. It's pretty dull. We got 47 talks. We accepted 80% of them. That's it. But what's really more important is that if you're, from the program committee perspective, if you're going to submit a talk, one of the big problems we have is people submit really great ideas, but they never give us any slides or even outline slides. So we have a hard time deciding whether or not we can accept things, and sometimes that goes wrong. So if you're going to propose a talk, or you know people who are proposing talks, what would really be helpful to us is if you got slides to us. I'm not going to give you any statistics because, as I said, it's really dull. The other thing I wanted to say was, if you know people who would be good for the PC, because a lot of people are rotating off the PC, I think roughly half. I mean, some are timing out, some are not re-upping, so roughly half. So it's going to be a big turnover. So the composition of the PC is going to change radically. So if you know people who would be good, as Joe said, for the PC, or that have kind of sort of a vision about what NANOG could be or should be and could be on the PC, that would be very helpful. The thing is that, you know, it does take some commitment, and, you know, people should know about that. But those were the main things I wanted to say. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I did want to ask, let me say one other thing too, is that we have this process where we get the talks and then we all rate them, and then we rate, you know, based on the input that we get, which is generally slides. And this is where the not having the slides thing becomes difficult. But we rate them, and so we select them based on what information we have. And sometimes what happens is, and this has happened this time in particular, that we get like slides or updated slides very late, and it makes it difficult for us to select talks that maybe we think would be good. So get your stuff in early. And then the final thing I wanted to just say, because I want everybody to get to the social event, is you know, do people have questions for the program committee, how it operates, what it ought to be doing? Again, in the kind of sentiment that this is your meeting, that things that we should be looking at, things that we could do to make the meeting better. Anybody have anything like that? Go like this if you do. Or, you know, go to one of the mics. Oh, by the way, I was looking at Joe. Thanks. By the way, I was looking at Joe's slide about the mailing lists. I can't post to most of those myself, so, you know.
So you had said that you had submissions that weren't complete, but looked like they were going to be good talks. Why not move those to the lightning talks?
That's what we tried to do. That's exactly what we tried to do. In fact, it turned out, it's an excellent point. In fact, what turned out was a lot of the lightning talks would have been nice for general session, you know, but fortunately we have the space in the lightning talks to accommodate them, because the reality is at some point we have to assemble an agenda. And the lightning talks give us flexibility to kind of do exactly what you're saying. Louis.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Louis.
Of the people that submitted good topics, but didn't submit the slides, if I were them, I might not want to work on a nice big set of slides without knowing that my talk's going to get accepted. So did you all at least ask them for the outline?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We do, but you know, there's varying degree. You know how many talks you've given, right? So you give the minimum amount of you do the minimum amount of work you can do. At least I do. You know, and I think that's what people do. And you know, sometimes what I'm saying is sometimes if you just did a little bit more, it would help us out. Oh no, I'm getting a question from Ren. Is it a comment or a question?
This is a comment, not a question.
Thank you.
Sometimes we get topics that are very, very similar. And if we only have an abstract, it's very difficult to figure out if we could ask both parties to work together and either combine or one party to take the lead and the other party to contribute on the back end. This is why the slides are really key. Abstracts are great, but they're rather abstract.
What she said.
Yeah, and I'll just add.
Who are you, by the way?
I'm Todd Underwood. I'm a near future former program committee member. And I think for context, I'll add, this is a standoff, right? This is typically, it is really good presenters playing chicken with the program committee. And like we all lose at that. But typically people are like, oh, I don't want to do the slides unless I'm going to get the talk accepted. And we're like, I'm not going to accept the talk unless you do the slides. So typically, if someone from the program committee says, this is a really good talk idea, a lot of people are interested in it, please do some slides, but we can't commit to accepting it. What that means is, if you do the slides, unless you're a complete doofus, your talk will probably be accepted, and so you should just do the slides. So the only other thing I'll comment is that frequently people will do slides that don't have any appreciable narrative at all to them, aside from the one that's in the person's head, which doesn't mean it's not going to be a good talk. It could be a great talk. But if it's not in the slides, if the narrative of the story isn't in the slides, there's no way somebody who doesn't know you and hasn't seen the talk given can judge the slides. So try to get some sort of, I am going to talk about this, it will be about this, here are 6 subjects. Look, I have covered the 6 subjects. There's 5 pieces of data to come. I'll fill that in later because it's hard work and I don't want to do it after. That's fine, like leaving specific slides empty, but it's not fine to just say, I'm going to talk about this, please accept my talk. Oh, and yeah, so the other thing to remember is that one of the NANOG archives are hugely important, and tons of people spend a lot of time in the archives, and there's great material in there. And they won't typically, even though the presentations are archived, people won't typically take the time to watch the video of your presentation. Many people will, but most people won't. And so make sure that your presentation tells a story even without you giving that story. Thanks.
So I'm on to my last item. Ren and Todd, Joel and Sylvie, and I don't know who all the people who are Josh, who else? Josh, Rodney, Lane, blah, 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 blah. All these people, Josh, Rodney, Lane, all of these people have done a really great job for you guys over the years. And the NANOG program has been, you know, largely or 100% engineered by these people. So I think, you know, let's give them a round of applause. A lot of work being done by these people on behalf of the community.
Quick. Beep.
Yeah, so I'm Joel Yegley. I thought I would abuse my prerogative as an outgoing PC member to make a few points. Those of us who are getting off this time, for the most part, have been around for two terms. And so with the exception of some folks like Steve Feldman, who are now sitting on the steering committee, and the merit participants, we're the ones who've been around since the new charter was created, so we have the institutional memory, and I think the rest of the community should have that. So, been around from the inception of the new charter to The PC internal process is fairly ad hoc. We do things on a consensus basis, but it's not arbitrary. That is, we do rely on precedent. There's been demonstrated to be willingness on the part of participants in the PC to alter the division of labor. So just because somebody did something in the past doesn't mean they'll do it in the future. We're responsive to SC input, or at least we have been, but we're not beholden to them. In theory, they can replace us. Unlike with the MLC, we've never actually managed to escalate something to the point where it became a crisis. In some respects, I'm actually disappointed by that. But you know, things are the way they are. One of the things that came out of the new charter and the way that the SC works and the way that the program committee works was an increased effort at transparency. So this results in minutes from our meetings, which don't discuss the merits of the individual presentations, but do discuss the themes that the program committee is interested in, the issues that we've raised with the steering committee, and things that we're thinking about for future program elements. So those don't get read by too many people, except Martin Hannigan, but you know, they are out there. Obviously, there are a few points of friction. Martin.
Martin Hannigan, Internet Golf Society, Chairman. I do not read the minutes anymore.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate that.
There have been some points of friction. For the most part, the PC is a relatively well-oiled machine, but sometimes it runs over stuff or breaks things. So one of the things that came out of the new charter process was some practical requirements driven by the community. Earlier availability of the agenda, because if you have the agenda earlier, you can go to your bosses earlier and request travel, you can make plans earlier, and so on. So that means the CFP is earlier, right after the meeting, in fact, and ability to respond to industry events, that is, things that happen between the two meetings. We have to really scramble if we want to fit them in. Whereas before, the program was only out 2-3 weeks before the meeting, you know, we had the luxury of actually altering it right up to the date where we put a stamp on it and called it good. So that actually took a considerable amount of effort. That means speeding up all of our processes. It means hounding you folks to make sure that you get your talks in early. And it means reduced flexibility. So there are definitely trade-offs associated with getting this process out earlier. I think we've been pretty successful, and I don't believe that the quality of the program has suffered as a result. In fact, I mean, I think we made very serious efforts to avoid that. Programming of joint activities. The program committee, oddly enough, thinks of itself as controlling the program, and when it comes to experiments or other programming challenges, the joint meeting with Aaron, or holding meetings outside North America, obviously we have to work more closely with the steering committee and with outside organizations. Aaron in particular is kind of hard to work with. I'm not sure why that is, but they run their meetings in a certain way, and we run ours in a certain way, and we actually have significant challenges there. So the future program committee gets to work on that a bit. Good luck. Distribution of ownership of repeating program elements and increasing depth in a bench. So one of the complaints that when I was early on the program was same people were responsible for the same things all the time. And not that I don't like Bill Norton, I love his jokes, but I think the peering BOF is much more successful now because it has multiple people involved in running it. And I hope that Bill is back and involved in that over time. But that's something that we need to do with all the elements. Inclusiveness, again, this is bringing in new people, whether it's through the newcomers meeting, which is a new program element, or getting more people involved in running BOFs. These are things that the program committee has been very interested in. So, big wins. Lightning talks, everybody loves those. The big secret is they also allow us to move program elements around because they're not pre-scheduled. So that means we get the agenda early out with items on it, and we can still tweak it up to the last minute. The peering track, I think I like the new format. I think lots of other people do too. I think it's a little bit more inclusive than it used to be. Newcomers, Ren was really the champion of this. In fact, she paid for it, or Comcast did. But Ren actually made the newcomers work the first 2 times, and now it's become an institution. So that was a serious win for this program committee. And I think the program quality has gotten better. And I don't think that's necessarily to cast doubt on the abilities of the previous program committees, but we really tried pretty hard on this, and it was a serious element of what we were trying to produce. So, thanks.
Thanks, Joel.
Hi, I'm Chris Foster. I'm the chair of the mailing list committee. There's several other people involved in it. We only have one of the mailing list committee members, Randy Epstein over there. We have, oh, Sue Joyner. Where's Sue? Hey. Steve Feldman is the steering committee liaison, so he doesn't actively participate in the mailing list committee, but acts as a resource for us. Simon is out in New Zealand, so he doesn't really come here very often, and Tim Yoakum, I don't believe, is here. Since the last meeting, the major update to the mailing list committee was the publication of our thread moderation policy. This is something that people have asked for, and we're continuing to use, and I think we've been fairly successful at it. But you can read the policy at the URL there, and if you have feedback on any of the policies, please bring them up on NANOG Futures. Futures has been pretty quiet lately. Since the last meeting, not much has changed. We've been very light-handed. We've relied on thread moderation policy rather than poking at individual people, especially when threads get completely out of control. September numbers were actually higher. I got them just shortly after the slides were put together. We're at 10,448 subscribers. So it's a lot of people on there. It's growing. The number of posts actually went down in September, 651. So the level of posts hasn't really changed, but the number of subscribers has increased. So it's just something that we all need to keep in mind. We're reaching a fairly large audience when posting. We have 2 seats for sure opening up on the mailing list committee, and we're looking for people to get involved. I think there's some interesting things that could be coming up if you take a look at the charter amendments that Steve Feldman will go over later. And finally, I'm really interested in those of you that don't read, subscribe, or post to the list. If you can fill out the survey, and in the section where we ask why you don't use it or any comments on it, can you give me some sort of feedback? We can probably do some things to make it better for you. That's all the things I wanted to go over. Does anyone want to bring anything up with me? Apparently not. Anyways, thank you.